administration, along with the auditor's input, believes is the best way possible to disperse the money within the budget among the many departments and funding mechanisms that make up the city's departmental workforce and the responsibilities that they are accountable for. Yes, the proposed budget is what it is, and what it is a budget almost exactly like every budget that has been brought before this body over the past 5 years that I and most of you have served on this council. But the only real change in the way the budget has been presented to us over that time, and I must mention passed by us every year since I have been on council, being that the police and fire departments now have funding placed in their accounts rather than being completely zeroed out, as had been the practice prior to this body's demand that funding be placed in those accounts for payroll, etc., etc. Yes, the police and fire accounts are underfunded when it comes to comp, overtime pay, etc. And yes, as in the past, the administration, along with the auditor's office, are intentionally underfunding those departments. Yes, as in the past, they are doing so with the expectation that their conservative projections will be surpassed, and as oftentimes in the past, that the money brought in above those projections will offset the underfunding within the proposed budget, or more specifically, the underfunding of the police and fire department's line items within said budget. Over the past several weeks and months, I've heard members of this body make statements of, I will not support the budget if there are not cuts made, which in essence either means cutting jobs and the people those jobs represent, or cutting funding to programs like the Start of the Hampton building, that even though on first gleam may not appear to be the beneficial to the city, but when such programs are fully explained, which they have been by on at least one occasion, the fact to pull funding from would be more detrimental to the city than beneficial. For statements like, I don't care if I shut the city down, I'm not voting for the budget if cuts aren't made and it doesn't come before me as a balanced budget. Yes, I'm sure there are jobs within the city's workforce that more likely than not do not pay their own way. But when you look at the overall scheme of things, those few jobs and the elimination of will really not make much of an immediate impact on the budget deficit, especially when you look at the shortfall the administration, along with the auditor, are dealing with on an everyday basis. Not to mention the negative impact the elimination of those jobs would have on the tax-paying people and the families of that are working those positions. As for having a balanced budget or shutting the city down, we all realize, or at least we all should realize, that the city needs additional revenue streams, and that without the creation of said additional revenue, those sitting in the chairs that the mayor and the auditor currently sit will be forced to continually bring a budget before this body very similar in nature to the one being brought forward for a vote tonight. Yes, I've never heard, or any of the other, Mr. Peters, Mr. Slagle, or any of the others, for that matter, mention their intent of crafting legislation that will create the additional revenue stream that the city needs in order to have the type of budget we and others of this body are demanding. I don't want to hear the old, it's not my job, when the fact is bringing forth such ideas of creating revenue streams is no different than bringing forth legislation to create a sidewalk fund within the city. The fact is that this body is no different than legislative bodies in D.C. or Columbus, and I believe it's not your job to come up with an alternative with something like the proposed budget doesn't meet your expectations is just simply not the truth. It is your job. Yet, over the past several months, with needed revenue creations, such as non-school tests have been brought before this body, there have been enough members of the body voting against those revenue streams that have been voted down. And with their being voted down, the revenue represented by were lost. Revenue that could in time have relieved some of the burden off the general fund, and by doing so, free those monies up for other use. And still, we have seen no alternatives brought forth by those who voted against. Why? I suppose because it's always easier to hide behind the old cliche, it's not my job, rather than make the tough decision to bring forth a new idea, or for that matter, an old idea, that will create additional revenue and in the process create a balanced budget that some members of this body want to demand. As for voting to shut the city down, as even the Tea Partiers are finding out in D.C., that is much easier to say than do. Why? Because by shutting down a nation, as with shutting down a city, you aren't simply accomplishing a political ploy, you're placing the very people who voted you into office in harm's way. So if any of you plan to vote to shut the city down tonight, I hope you're doing so with the full knowledge that you are placing the entire city and the residents of in peril. And that is something that I personally am not willing to do. And so, even though I wholeheartedly agree this budget is far from perfect, it is what it is. And because we currently have no viable alternative, I believe we must vote for its passage tonight, and then begin the hard work of exploring ways to create the much-needed revenue stream the city must have in order to obtain a balanced budget, and then take the best of those ideas to the people for their consideration of its passage. And if not, we or those after us will be forced to continue to pass budgets similar to the